Can a great meal be based on deception? On today's menu, getting faked out by Michel Richard.
It's a trompe-l'oeil restaurant. Everything is fake here.
Cakes in disguise in New York City.
Realism is my art form, but cake is my medium.
Tricked into eating our vegetables, Hanoi style.
They serve vegetarian dishes, but they look like meat.
Why many of our dining habits may be an illusion.
Expectations determine what we think of food.
Trompe-l'oeil, French for trick the eye, is a technique of optical illusion where an object or an entree is not at all what it seems.
You like to have a door right there, but you can't. By law, you cannot have a door, but you paint the door on the wall and you have your door. It's a fake door, it's a trompe-l'oeil. I do the same thing with my food. It's trompe-l'oeil and trompe-mouth.
Chef Michel Richard is full of surprises. With more than 45 years of experience and a mantle full of culinary awards, Richard specializes in the unexpected. Originally trained in France, Richard learned the ropes as a pastry chef before turning his sights to savory and eventually to trompe-l'oeil. At Citronelle in Washington, D.C., there's always more to a meal than meets the eye.
I design my little recipe, and by designing it, I can taste it. Just like an architect, I have to build that blueprint in my mind. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. When the blueprint is ready, I'm ready, we are ready to cook. The dish we are going to do, it's a fake steak tartare. Yeah, okay? That tastes good or not? It's a trompe-l'oeil restaurant. Everything is fake here. What we have here is a Roma tomato, garlic, and a lot of herb. And we're gonna bake tomato for 2 hours in the oven.
Michel Richard is known internationally for all of his cuisine, but especially for his ability to play with his food.
We have the tomato. We spend 2 hours in the oven. Now I'm gonna chop. And now we're gonna do we're extract all the liquid. I want my food to have special look, special taste. I work very, very hard on, I want my food to have the greatest personality. We're gonna add now shallot, olive oil, 1 teaspoon of mustard. That creates a nice little zing. We're gonna have some capers now.
Just like a real tartare.
Like a real tartare, yeah. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of beet juice. We cook the beets in water for a few hours. And then you have the blood of the beets. And that give a nice color to the tartare.
I think the appeal of trompe-l'oeil when you're in a restaurant is surprise. What Michel provides, just what's so much fun about it, is it's on your plate. That looks so good.
And here we made vinaigrette with herb.
It really looks like a steak tartare.
And then we have a little bit of sweet cheese.
So pretty. Look, it looks just like your picture.
And you have a few quail eggs. We poach some quail eggs. That's it. The surprise is when you give it to a customer, when you set up something in their mind and then they plunge the fork into the tartare, and when that tartare lands in their mouth, what is that? I have a new way of presenting food. We call it floating food. What we did, we wrapped the plate in plastic film. This is my tomato, egg, virtual salad.
That's fantastic.
It's an egg, but the funny thing is not an egg. It's a tomato mozzarella egg. The white part of the egg is mozzarella, and the inside is yellow tomato puree. The other day, a man came over to the restaurant and said, Michel, I eat everything, but I can't stand eggs. And the first thing I gave it to him was egg. I don't like eggs. It's not egg, taste it. And he tasted my egg, he was surprised. It was just a mozzarella and tomato. I'm like the Pierre Cardin or those Yves Saint Laurent, those great designers. I want to be one of them, but I'm cheaper than them. Now we're going to do a scallop scramble instead eggs. With a little bit of saffron for the color, and it's going to taste, it's going to be like creamy, like a
Scrambled eggs.
Like scrambled eggs. And I mean, I have some scallop, some fresh scallop here. And I have some little bit of cream. And I cook with saffron because I want the color. I want that beautiful color. And I'm going to process it. Voila.
It looks just like egg batter.
Yeah, it's like an egg batter. Yeah, it's like a mousse of scallop. Nice, huh? Put the pan with crème fraîche. And a little bit of cream. It looks like a scrambled egg. That's it. I don't want to overcook it. We're going to taste dry. And then we fill up the little shell. And the color is wonderful because the saffron gives a nice color. 4 scrambled eggs. And then you add the little...
It's like a little jewel box.
Like a little gift. Like Christmas for me. Imagine you receive all those big, beautiful boxes. You open the box, and inside you find something superb, something unexpected. It's the same thing here. Look, I even look like Santa Claus.
It does. It completely tricks the eye.
Yeah, very nice. It's creamy.
Very
It's a
creamy.
different style. I'm surprised it's so good.
You made it. Why are you so surprised?
You don't trust me? You want to taste it? Can you imagine you sitting in a restaurant and a big thing like this land on the front of you? Darling, why did you spend so much money? I want a new ring, but I don't want the caviar. And then you say, it's not the caviar, because the caviar like this is $1,000. It's a butter poached lobster. And then we had poached egg. It's a couscous, been cooked with lobster consommé. And we had squid ink. And look at that. It really looked beluga. The first time I served it, it was to a friend of mine. He was sure that was a caviar.
That is delicious.
Nice, huh? It's like a fiesta inside of your mouth. I'm so pleased of myself. I'm so happy to be Michel Richard. People come to my restaurant, we serve them pasta. It's not pasta. And we don't tell them. I want people to just a reaction inside of their mouth when they're expecting something. And when that fork land in their mouth, they're magic, something different than they expected. That's what I want to do.
Realism is sort of my art form, but cake is my medium. Things that you would never think of in cake terms, I think of. I'm Elisa Strauss. I'm the owner of Confetti Cakes Bakery, and I'm a cake designer.
Elisa Strauss left behind a career in fashion to become a full-time cake designer. At Confetti Cakes in New York City, she'll sculpt, mold, and paint a cake that looks so real, it's almost impossible to believe it's meant to be eaten. A custom cake can take up to a week to complete, but the biggest surprise of all may be that Strauss is completely self-taught in the art of trompe l'oeil.
Although we are baking, we're making everything from scratch. It's a strange thing calling my shop a bakery because I really think of it more as an art studio. I really do think of using the food coloring gels and powders really as paint. I think my specialty is creating cakes that look real, but each cake is completely different. Even though the sushi board is an entire cake, the little pieces make up little pedophores. But like most Japanese foods, the presentation is just as important as anything else. And so to make a sushi cake, what I do is I just take some regular, just white fondant, and then with some dyed brown fondant. I just twist it, almost like taffy. It's really just a sweet dough. Its main ingredient is confectioner's sugar, and it has some glycerin in it, which makes it really pliable. Once the delicious cake is covered with the fondant, it's like a blank canvas that we could then paint on top of. What we do to create a paint mixture is we mix a little bit of brown food coloring with a little bit of vodka. And the vodka just helps it create a really nice, fine paint. The great thing about wood grain is that there's so many different shades of it and different special details, so you really can't mess it up. The rice. It's labor intensive, like so much of what we do. For each piece of sushi, we need a whole handful of rice. So we're literally taking some sugar dough and forming it into little ovals. I think my job is deceivingly fun. It's a ton of hard work and it takes so much time. We put so much care into each cake. This is a candy food powder. It's just like regular food coloring, but it is in a powder form. So it just adds like a nice dust to the edge of it. And so that's how we get like the rind of our avocado and the edges of the ginger. So for the final touch, we usually just add a little bit of vanilla extract into our soy dish. I think my inspiration for the cakes comes from everywhere in the world. If I go to a museum, I may be inspired by a painting, or it may just be a client coming in with a stuffed animal of their child's favorite toy. When I can make a handbag look like an actual handbag with stitching, or make wood look like real wood, I think I'm literally tricking the eye. It's a really great part of my job. Our creations get eaten, but that's what we do. It's kind of like performance art. A lot of times they become the center of the party and they make the theme or the hobby come to life. So at the end of the day, it's so wonderful to watch the clients' reactions, and that's a really rewarding part about my job.
I was born after the war. At that time, food is just something to fill your stomach. But now the country is looking at the quality of the food instead of the quantity. We don't just taste with our mouth, but we taste the food with all our senses, with our eyes, the smell, the presentation, the colors. My name is Ha, and I'm here in Hanoi, Vietnam.
In the largely Buddhist culture of Vietnam, eating meat may be against the rules for some, but eating something that looks or tastes like meat isn't. At vegetarian restaurants like Cam Che, vegetables disguised as meat and fish tempt diners of any denomination.
Today I'm at Cam Che Nang Thấm, and this restaurant is specialized in vegetarian cuisine. The place is very popular among Buddhist monks. Okay, get out of the way. The Buddhist monks, they are strict vegans, but there's a champloi element about this restaurant, and that is they serve vegetarian dishes, but they look like meat. Tuna in tomato sauce, chicken with mushroom sauce, tempura prawn, sausages on a skewer. There is absolutely no meat in any of these. They believe in equality among all living things. In the previous life, the chicken is your cousin or your brother. It's got something to do with reincarnation. He said that he feels totally comfortable about the whole idea because he knows no one kill anything for his food.
Thế còn cái vỏ này.
She said the main ingredients they use to make the tuna is a mixture of taro powder, wheat gluten, and for the skin they use seaweed to give it the flavor and the texture of fish. And sausage. They grind soybeans into a powder and then they cook it in water, just like at home when you boil milk. There will be a skin. So this is the skin when they boil soy milk. They dry it in the sun, soak this in water to soften it. After that, they can turn it into minced meat, like a sausage. This is tofu. They stuff this into a mold, and this is the end result. It looks a bit fake now, but after it's decorated with garnishes, it would look more authentic. The restaurant was opened in October October 1995. At that time, there were no vegetarian restaurants in Hanoi. 3 years after that, she learned lots of new techniques to make champoy dishes, to diversify their menus. It's a way of marketing. Not all the customers are Buddhists, and a lot of people who are non-vegetarian get to know and get to like vegetarian dishes because of the way they prepare the vegetarian food.
Lại cứ phải lấy tên,
She's got one saying that sum up the whole idea.
bán toàn đồ giả.
We sell lots of fake things, but we get real money.
So let's start with a cookie here. We're gonna be doing a little taste test. What's amazing about food is that even though we do it 3 times a day, every day for our entire life, most people have no idea why they choose the foods they choose or why they eat what they eat. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Compared to other cookies?
Yeah.
1.
My name is Brian Wansink. I'm professor and director of the Cornell University Food and Brand Lab and author of the book, Mindless Eating, Why We Eat More Than We Think.
A marketing expert and prize-winning nutritionist, Brian Wansink has been called the Sherlock Holmes of food. Dedicated to the study of why we eat what we do, he has proven that what we enjoy is as much about the plate as what we find on it. Dinner at his house is frequently an experiment in itself, since Wansink isn't beyond pulling a few tricks, all in the name of research.
We're having 3 friends over tonight for dinner, and I'm fortunate because my wife is a Le Cordon Bleu trained chef. Hello! Come on in, my dear!
It smells good in here.
So for starters, we're gonna have baby field greens, a sweet ripened pear, and goat cheese.
How come the cheese has only 2 names instead of 3? Like, you know,
Tuscan goat
Tuscan,
cheese.
yeah. When I got the invitation, I figured that there's going to be something about trying to show that we're mindless eaters like everybody else, which is perfectly fine with me.
Then for the cuisine, juicy garlic roasted chicken.
There it is.
With crisp green bean bundle and potato canal.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
So go ahead and begin here.
Is there something up with the salad we don't know about?
I'm not convinced.
My reputation as a food spy precedes me. Trompe l'oeil has a huge impact on what we taste. But it's not just our eyes. It's all of our senses that bias our taste. I'm gonna ask you to try some chocolate cake here. The Cornell Food and Brand Lab is a series of rooms that we can observe what people eat, how they eat, when we make small changes like changing the lighting or changing the temperature in the room. By doing this, we better understand the psychology behind food behavior. How would you describe the taste?
Better than I thought.
Do you think it would have tasted as good if you'd given it to you on a paper plate like that?
I may question it. This is a pretty nice display.
We did a study a while back, and if you ask French people how they know they're through eating a meal, they say, I know I'm through eating a meal when I feel full or when the food no longer tastes good. We asked the same questions of 150 Chicagoans, and they said, I know I'm through eating a meal when everybody else is done or my plate's empty. Expectations determine what we think of food, almost more than what the absolute taste does.
Oh, thank you. That's yours. Vegetarian.
Very tall off the plate. That's all we're getting.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Love it.
Delicious.
Yeah, so our eyes not only influence what we think about food, but our eyes also influence how much food we eat, because we eat with our eyes, not with our stomach. So we set the study to say, well, what would happen if your plate never emptied? Would you just keep eating until you blew up? And so we developed this endless soup bowl, where when people would eat, the level in the soup bowl would slowly rise again. But after 20 minutes, when you ask them if they're full, they go, oh no, how could he be full? I mean, it's half full.
You don't mind if I look under the
Yeah, I know. Don't lift up your plate, please.
When you arm people with the results of one of your studies, but people have been eating, every day for their whole lives, what is the likelihood that it's going to actually change their behavior?
But when we look at sort of the taste psychology of food, learning that giving something a nice name makes people like it a lot more than they otherwise would, Well, and gee, as a host or hostess, that's a pretty darn easy thing to do. You can spend that last 5 minutes instead of trying to, make the meal better. You can actually just make the expectations better.
Make the little card better, right?
Make that card better, yeah.
Just look at today's plate. To be honest with you, pretty much everything is store bought. The roasted chicken is just like a normal rotisserie chicken. And as with the mashed potato, actually just out of a box. It took me like 2 minutes to do it. In just a couple of minutes, you can make something really ordinary. It becomes very special.
It looks so beautiful. I mean, it was so special. I was
Oh,
when I
thank you.
saw it.
So if I don't tell you this is store-bought rotisserie chicken, would you know?
I would not have known.
I would not.
We've done probably about 250 experiments over the last 20 years, and one thing that amazes me is that nobody believes these little cues in our environment influence them.
Oh, here comes the dessert. Oh.
They don't believe they're influenced by whether they're eating off a nice plate or not. They don't believe they're influenced by the label on a wine bottle. And that's what makes these things so powerful. That's also how you can use these to make people think you're a whole lot better cook than you actually are.
All right, I'll confess. I know the trick. It's supposed to be simple stuff, presented well, but I think it tastes good. I think it's wonderful. So maybe I'm just fooled by the presentation, but I think it genuinely tastes good. But I give the credit to Jennifer, though.